Hey everyone, this is Crazy Talk. Today's video is going to be about scars and the pros and cons of hiding and showing them. I want to start off by saying that not all self-harm is done on the arms. The archetypal image is cutting wrists or cutting arms, and that is not always the case. As I've mentioned, there are other ways of self-harming, but if we're going to stick to things that mark the skin, like cutting or burning, then it doesn't just have to be the arms. And it can be virtually anywhere. I started on the tops of my legs, and that's been the same for most of the time, up until very, very recently, a couple of months ago, where it started on my forearm, on the outside of my forearm, not the inside. And so those are much more visible than the ones on my legs. So just because somebody self-harms and you can't see that they have scars, it doesn't mean they don't, first of all. I have written a couple of points down for this video. I just want you to know that if you do have scars and you've been covering them, you've got absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Because self-harm is a symptom. People so often confuse a symptom for the illness. So they will think that what's wrong with you is self-harm. Self-harm is a symptom of the illness that you have. And that is what the scars depict. They are symptoms of something much bigger and much deeper. And because of that, it is an illness. You have nothing to be ashamed of. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that and realize that. But I got there eventually. And, well, one of the things you have to ask yourself, if you're wondering if you have scars that could be visible, if you're wearing long sleeve tops when the weather's really hot or you're doing sports activities and you're covering up more than you should be, say, in amongst your peers, you're the only one wearing a long sleeve top or you're the only one wearing full trousers instead of shorts, and you're thinking, well, should I just have them out there? You kind of have to ask yourself, can you live with being asked? Because it might not happen all the time, but there will come a time where people will ask you about your scars, and you need to be able to live with that and answer them in a concise and a proper way. You can't just brush it off, and you have to come to terms with what you have, what you're dealing with. You don't have to go into a great amount of detail. When people have asked me about my scars, I have just said that I struggle with mental health conditions, and well, now I'm currently medicated. And if they want to know more, then they'll ask. Otherwise, they'll leave it at that. A lot of people will see and take notice that you have scars, but they won't say anything. And it can make a lot of people uncomfortable. And you have to weigh up the fact, do you want to put people in that position? It's up to you. Personally, I have no problem having my scars out there for people to see. I don't specifically show off my scars because why should I? That's not what it's about. That's ridiculous. But they're there, and if people want to ask about them, then they're more than welcome to. I see it almost as an opportunity to talk about mental health. Obviously, I didn't cause the cuts to do that. That's completely not what was going through my head at the time. My anxiety was pretty bad. My depression was crippling, and that's the alternative I chose. But now that I've been stitched up, quite literally, I've looked at it, looked at myself. Yeah, I'm going to get asked about it, but it's a chance to educate people, and it's a positive spin on something that is absolutely horrible. And I'm okay with that. But again, you might not be. And if you're not ready to have your scars out there, particularly if they're still very visible, and by that I mean scars go a particular colour. If you've never had scars like this, the only thing I can liken it to is stretch marks. When stretch marks originally come about, they're like a dark pinkish, purplish, reddish colour. Quite a vibrant, deep colour. But eventually, over time, they whiten over. And maybe you'll be more comfortable when your scars do white over, if they are that deep. Mine currently on my arm are still in that first stage of being very red, and they won't white over for some time yet. But that's just how it goes. It's a waiting game. Actually, one bit of advice I do have about that: if you have got scars like that, one way to look after them, I've talked about looking after your cuts once you've made them. But if you want to look after your scars and look after your skin, the best thing I can say is moisturizer. And that sounds horrendously camp, I know it does, but it really works. If you moisturize your skin regularly, then your skin will take the moisture and it will be much more effective at repairing itself than if you were to just leave it. I mean, I moisturize regularly anyway, but I do pay particular attention to the areas on my body which are scarred. It makes for better healing, trust me. You don't need to buy any fancy particular scar cream. I did try bio oil, and that didn't really seem to do much. So I would just stick to a nice moisturizer, and you'll be fine. Another thing I want to talk about, just backtracking a little bit. I know I'm kind of dancing all around the place, but with it being a symptom of an illness and making people feel uncomfortable. Yes, it can make people feel uncomfortable. Sorry, I just headbutted the door and I'm very sorry. With it making people feel uncomfortable, you have to remember, again, symptom of an illness. Would they be just as uncomfortable, those kinds of people, seeing someone in a wheelchair if they had a severe disability, somebody with Down syndrome? Would they be just as uncomfortable? Maybe, maybe not. But you don't know that person. It's up to you whether you want to have your scars visible or not. And I just wanted to talk, it's kind of relevant for me at the moment as well, about job interviews, employment, that kind of thing. Trying to find a job if you have visible scars. Now, the last job I had was a Christmas temp job, the Christmas just gone, 2012, in a department store. And they did not see my scars before I started. Now that is because I had a bandage on. I didn't specifically put the bandage on because of the interview or anything like that. It's just that at that time the cuts were still healing and they weren't really looking very nice. And so I dressed them appropriately and had them for my interview. So once the cuts were healed over, I'd taken the bandage off. I'm currently looking for work now, and I don't see any reason to cover up the scars on my arm. I just want people to know that it is against the law to not employ somebody because of their mental health. again, I don't like to use the word discrimination lightly, but at the end of the day it is. And that's something that needs to change. So, if I were in an interview and I did have my scars visible, and they asked me, then I would tell them that I struggle with mental health problems, that I'm currently medicated and appropriate medical measures are in place. So, there's no reason why I can't be employed. There's no reason why you can't be employed if you have mental health problems, self-harm scars, anything like that. So don't let that stop you. Don't let it be an issue. And if you're confident about it, then they will be a lot more reassured. If you come across very anxious, very ashamed, mumbly about it, that's going to put them off a little bit. It's going to put anybody off a little bit. But if you can clearly and confidently talk about it, that's going to put a lot of people's minds at rest. And that helps with the education side of things. Again, this is what this whole channel is about, is educating people and helping change attitudes towards mental health. Now, that's about all I wanted to say on this video. Currently, I don't actually have any internet, so this probably isn't going to get uploaded today. Hopefully, I will haul off to somewhere with Wi-Fi and upload. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and share the channel out to as many people as you can. If you know people with mental health problems, or you know people who are related to people with mental health problems, share this around. There's going to be more videos in the future. Hopefully my next video will be upon the 2nd week mark on me on citalopram. We'll see. Get this internet sorted. So, thank you very much, everybody. This is Crazy Talk. Have a lovely day.